But thank you for joining us this evening for devotional time on this Sunday evening. And just a short devotion I'd like to share. And this comes from, again, from Brennan Manning's Reflections for Ragamuffins. And it's entitled, My Belovedness. Who am I? Asked the Trappist monk, Thomas Merton. And he responded, I am one loved by Christ. Herein lies the foundation of the true self, the indispensable condition for developing and maintaining the awareness of our belovedness is time alone with God. In solitude, we tune out the naysaying whispers of our worthlessness and sink down into the mystery of our true self. Our longing to know who we really are, which is the source of most of our discontent. That longing will never be satisfied until we confront and accept silent, solitary moments with the Lord. There we discover that the truth of our belovedness is really true. Our primary identity rests in God's relentless tenderness for us, revealed in Jesus Christ. And he cites Psalm 123, verse 1, I lift up my eyes to you whose throne is in heaven. You know, silence and solitude are not necessarily a huge part of our culture. And I'll say even for myself, and I kind of think of myself as being someone who's more comfortable with silence than perhaps, not to compare, but I feel fairly comfortable with silence and solitude at times, and yet doesn't necessarily mean that it always comes easy. Compared to how easy it is to fill our lives with distractions, to just hit another YouTube video or whatever it is that we kind of fill our time and our space with. It's that sense of, okay, when we really have time, and sometimes it happens at the end of the day when we finally are in solitude with ourselves, or at least it's quiet and we're getting ready to sleep. Of course, that's the time, no matter how tired we are, that sometimes we have a real tough time falling asleep, or at least that has been my experience from time to time. And yet, in the midst of that, when we do all of that head work, when we listen, when we think, when we finally allow the jumble of thoughts to subside, and we tune down the external noise, what I believe he's trying to say is that once we, in that silence, can slow down enough to hear the whisper of God, who is extending love to us, again, not based on anything that we've done. So it's not about striving to just clear the bar enough so that God will love us, or afraid of not slipping just far enough so that we don't make it anymore, but that just that sense of acknowledging in ourselves, owning in ourselves that God does love us. No, that doesn't mean that God loves everything that we do or think or say, but that's kind of to put the one before the other. But to start with the reality of our belovedness. And this morning we were talking about how God is calling us to follow in the footsteps of his Son, to serve one another in love, and to follow the command to love one another. The central core of which everything else is built around what it means to live life together in community, what it means to live life in relationship with God, and yet in that phrase, to love each other as we love ourselves, masks a reality that sometimes we're not sure we love ourselves. We're not sure that we see ourselves as beloved, or we frame it in worthiness language. And I don't think that's the point, because when we know that we are truly known and loved at the same time, that's one of the things that sets us free to truly be and to respond in love. Just in one way, I've heard it said that a friend is someone who knows all about you but likes you anyway. It's that kind of a welcome. It's that kind of love that meets us where we are, that knows our stuff and loves us. The kind of love that draws out the best in us, for ourselves and for one another. So that would be my hope and my prayer for each of us today as we close this day, to just take some time to sit in and be aware of the love of God, which is for you and for me. A belovedness that knows us inside and out, that draws us and beckons us and calls us deeper into life, but that the love meets us here and now. In that, wherever you are in your journey, I pray that uh, this finds you well and blessings along the way. Good night.